You were at Sunset, and then Dan yells at you.
Yeah, told me that, like, you know, it's not called Nicole 101.
Was it just you, or was your mom there too?
They wouldn't let my mom in the room.
Weird. Like, did your mom want to come, or she come?
Yes,
Okay?
and then the lawyer was in cahoots with Nickelodeon and gave my mom a phone call saying it's fine. Like, they're just gonna like have like a very chill, you know, relaxed conversation. And then it ended up being not chill, not relaxed, and I ended up
were you
being
sitting
like
in like a
bombarded.
smallish room or like?
So I was in, it's like a conference table. So you got like huge conference table, all these seats on the other side.
Very Hollywood.
Very Hollywood. I'm in the middle one, and then there's like 5 execs in front of me. So I'm like 13 years old.
Oh my god!
Just across from all these adults. I remember Dan Schneider sitting there.
Moping in. I cannot.
I cannot either.
He like waddled in and then
I-
he sat on 2 seats and then he. So there's 5 execs, but then 7 seats were taken because Dan was a. I'm just kidding. We actually don't fat shame because Dan's skinny
Not
now.
at all.
No, Dan is skinny now, but Dan's
yes,
just
he
a
is.
creep.
But also, Dan's just he's a specific type of person.
So he did
It
he
doesn't
feel,
count with.
So he felt super comfortable yelling at you in front of these other people too.
Oh yeah.
Like just saying like this isn't your thing. You need to like
Totally.
pretty much be submissive and like.
Oh yeah. He's like, this is not Nicole 101. You know, you have to like play your role. And he was just like yelling, and then the other execs were just sitting there as if it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And I just remember being shocked because I was like, I went from one yelling situation with Brittany. And then I got into another one. And Brittany was so scary for me just because of how much I loved her.
Yeah.
And so when you idolize somebody or you look up to somebody and they don't like you or they're looking down on you, it's a horrible feeling.
After those 2 experiences, I would feel like the world's just against me because
pretty
like, you're
much.
not even like doing anything wrong. You're just like getting
Hyper-normalized.
punished. Yeah.
Yeah, hyper-normalized. It was no big deal. And after the 2 years that I experienced with Jamie, it was just horrible. Mm-hmm. I mean, it took me a lot. When people would even want to be friends with me after that, I was always suspicious because I'd never thought anyone liked me. Like, that's how
Yeah.
bad it was on Zoey101 that I really was like, no one likes me. No one wants to be my friend. You know, anything I say, no one really cares. And so coming out of that was like trauma. I mean,
Yeah.
it was actual. That's why I was shocked when I made that video on YouTube and it got that many views.
Like that stream or
even-
something, right?
Not at the stream, but I was just crying
Oh.
and saying like, just give me some peace during this time. It's like trauma.
Yeah.
I didn't think anyone was even going to watch that. And I was shocked that many people.
Girl, people will pay attention to you though. Like, look, even the videos we've done, like you already know. I'm like,
Yeah, I was shocked. Like, you want to, that's crazy to me. That always surprises me, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah. So, Dan Schneider.
so Dan Schneider is obviously into like feet and things like that. There wasn't as much feet stuff on Zoey101, but like,
No, but there was some. There was like Quinn's episode with the feet.
but you could still like acknowledge that he's like got like you've seen that stuff. Like he's got some feet things.
No,
But-
definitely.
and it's so bad.
And it's children, though.
Oh, children's feet, little feet.
It's little feet.
Ew.
And it's also like the Ariana Grande thing really pissed me off.
That was like,
As a mom,
where was
that
her
just-
mother? Like, where was her mother during that bedroom
Where was
scene where she's sucking
anybody?
on her big toe?
Where is anybody?
Right? Any adult that's like, can we stop this?
Oh, and I heard like so many of the people apparently. I spoke recently to some journalist who was trying to do. Everyone's afraid of doing a story.
Why are they
about
so
Dan
afraid of
Schneider. I have no
him?
idea, but everyone's afraid of every male in Hollywood. People will be like, "We're gonna do this story," and then like, "Oh, sorry, we can't do this story." And it's like, okay, well then why are you calling me? Because
Yeah.
it's a waste of my time.
Reopening this whole thing.
Yes.
And, like,
And then
like
you're
shit
not gonna
after.
exactly.
They're not even gonna like
not
yeah.
even do it. And so I remember them saying that they interviewed a few of the writers on the set of Zoey101 and a couple of Dan Schneider's shows, and they were like, "Yeah, we were aware of certain things, but it was hyper normalized.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't something that we thought it was professional." In a professional setting so that it wasn't bad. And it's like, just because it's in a professional setting doesn't mean something isn't right.
Yeah.
Like professional doesn't mean shit. You know, people think that word means something. It's like, it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
It's like professional at what?
Professionally creating like child pornography.
Yeah,
Like, okay, like, oh, professional. Yeah, it's got great crew and lighting and everything.
Yeah,
so.
and money, a lot of money behind it. Nickelodeon.
Oh, speaking of that, girl, I need to talk about the cum shot. Do you know what I'm talking about? The scene where you and Jamie Lynn are like in the store or
Yes,
something,
the
and then you
squirt.
squirt like this jelly on her face, and like it goes like very particular on her face. So can you tell me about like that scene in particular? Because I remember you like sharing that Dan was very like very specific about how he wanted everything to look like. Hey,
Yeah,
thingy too.
Yeah, of course.
I need a breath of fresh air.
No,
Mine
of
just
course.
died.
So basically, I had to pretend I was like squirting this
What was it? Do you remember?
like goop.
It's just
It was
called
like
goop.
Yeah, it was like sliming goop. It was like slime.
Yeah.
And so for the close-up shot of Jamie, though, they needed a prop person to do it with a syringe.
Oh, because so it would squirt a certain way.
Squirt a certain way.
So when you filmed your like,
It would never go anywhere. It would just go. Bleh.
so
It was
when
so
you filmed
heavy.
your squirting scene, that was just like one time for you, right? It was
Correct.
Like one thing, and then for hers though, it was like multiple.
Yeah, they tried. I think they tried 3 times, and then they finally got it perfectly in the way that they wanted it. And I remember that Chris Massey and Sean were supposed to be behind pretending they were looking at Hustlers, which I thought was bizarre. I remember Dan and them joking about the fact that they were like looking at dirty magazines in that shot. So you guys are minors. Why is that joke happening? But I will never forget that when the one that they ended up using, I remember Sean and Chris like laughing hysterically because guess what? What it reminded them of is exactly what it looks like.
What it looks like. Yeah.
And I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was yet. And so I remember like listening to Chris and Sean, and they were like,
So you realized shortly after though, after the scene, like it
they were
wasn't, like,
all
years
laughing.
later.
And even
Yeah.
the prop person, everyone thought it was hilarious.
How did do you know how Jamie Lynn felt in that moment? Or was she just kind
I
of
thought
like?
you can tell she looks uncomfortable. You see that shot.
Yeah, she does look uncomfortable in it.
I felt bad for her in that shot just because like no one should be. It's like dehumanizing, you know? It's like that's a child, and then everybody on set's laughing about it.
Yeah, and then you're like the joke almost.
You're the joke
Like, yeah.
of fake cum on your face, and you're a minor.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's so, and that's why I say like it's unforgivable regardless of anything with Dan, whatever he wants to say. Because if you're an adult, if I was him, I would have never have allowed that to happen.
Yeah. Are you scared of Dan at all?
No.
No, not at all.
No.
I don't know. I don't understand like what power.
After
he
hearing
has.
him call me or his lawyer have
Yeah,
to
we'll
call
talk
me.
about
Okay,
in a
yeah.
second, girl.
Go ahead.
But he walked away from Nickelodeon with $7 million. It's like I don't understand like how
A severance,
he has,
basically?
Yeah, like how does he have so much power?
I think a lot of white men have a lot of power.
Yeah.
I think anyone non-white would tell you they know that.
Seems like he provokes some type of fear too. With people.
Yeah, and it's tradition, right? I mean, I feel like power comes through finances, comes through jobs, etc. And then if you put white person on top of that, you're in a situation where people just naturally turn a blind eye to what they do, try not to interfere with what they do, and also kind of be complicit with what they do.
Yeah.
It's very common.
For some reason, like the New York posted like an article about him, like I think last year, and
Yeah.
they like about him losing weight, him coming back, and he's now pitching
Well,
new
I'm gonna call
shows.
out New York Times for that because then people called me from fucking New York Times and were like, "We're ashamed about this article and we're trying to like actually fix this and we want to do an interview," and then they weren't even able to. The Cut wouldn't take it, and I'm calling out the Cut for that because the Cut wouldn't fucking take it.
So let's talk about the time where his lawyers contacted you. I believe you were in Palm Springs at
I
this
was.
point. Do you know what year
I was
this
drinking
was? Or-
wine.
Yeah,
By
drinking
myself, just on the couch,
I think you're always
relaxing.
drinking wine. I think
As a mom, especially now, like at nighttime, like.
Were you a
open
mom when
wine.
it happened? Like what year did this
No,
happen?
so this happened in 2018. I'm pretty positive.
Okay. Why were you in Palm Springs?
I got
Were you
away
living
from
there?
LA. I got a
Okay.
house there.
It's hot there.
It's so hot.
It's
I had
too
a pool.
hot.
I had a really nice.
Oh, that's really nice.
For $2,200 a month. I'll say exactly. It was
Wow.
super.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it's not affordable for a lot of people, but for me at that time, it
Yeah,
was.
no, that's pretty good.
And it was a little Spanish home, had a pool, and I just went there to write and finish up Metanoia.
Okay.
And so I remember sitting on the couch. I was having a glass of wine on my laptop, and my boyfriend at the time, who's a scammer. Sorry, I had to put that in there because I refuse to say it's just my boyfriend. But he texted me, and like you can have iMessages on your
Yeah.
laptop. And so I saw him say, "Someone just called me, and it's a lawyer looking for you." And I thought it was about something else at the time, and I was like, "What do you mean? There's a lawyer looking for me?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "How do you get your number? Out of all people, like, how do you know I'm dating you? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
to get to you. Yeah.
Like, isn't my number easier to find than his number?" So I was like, "Okay." And I go, "Well, what's the number?" And so he sent it to me. And I remember calling, and the guy answered, and I said, "Hi, you just called my boyfriend. looking
how
for
can I help
me.
you?
How can I help you?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, yes. My name, I forgot his name. I still have his number and I have the text message. I actually, I'll give it to you. You can put it up here.
Oh, okay.
Because I just want people to know this actually did
Yeah.
happen. So he goes, yeah, I'm so-and-so I represent Schneider's Bakery. So he didn't say Dan Schneider at first. He just said Schneider's
company.
Bakery.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, God. I remember just saying that out loud, just being like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my God.
Like, oh,
what?
haunting.
Like, what the fuck? You represent that?
What do you want from
yeah,
you?
what do you want from me? And he goes, I just want to ask you a few questions. I was like, okay. And he goes, have you been talking to somebody who wants to make a documentary on Dan Schneider? And I said, that's none of your business, basically.
Were you, though?
And I was.
Was there someone? Okay.
There
And
was.
that documentary never happened, right?
It never happened.
Okay.
And because everyone keeps blocking whatever
just
this
stopping
is crazy. And so I said, yeah, maybe, but like, it's none of your business. And he goes, what have you said? And I said, none of your business.
Yeah.
And he goes, eventually, after like a few questions about the documentary, he goes, would you be comfortable with, I don't even say comfortable. He said, would you like to come into the room with Dan and I and we can talk about this?
Like,
and I was
hell
like,
no.
what? No.
Yeah.
No. He's like, well, there would be a nice agreement. I remember him saying.
Oh, a little payment.
Totally.
Oh.
And I was like, I understand you're a lawyer, bro. I was like, this is me on wine in Palm Springs. I'm like in my 20s. I was like, I understand you're a lawyer, but you're representing a gross ass individual. And to be honest with you, I would never take any money from somebody who's trying to silence me. And like, that's just not money I'm willing to ever take in my life. So you picked the wrong person on this. And I was like, as a lawyer, I would really reassess like what you're doing. And who you're
so you checked
representing.
him.
And he was silent. He was like, like he didn't even know what to say. I was like, that's pretty gross that you're representing this.